Why is grief such an important part of your awakening journey? Now, in this video, I really wanted to talk about grief because it is such an important part of your awakening journey. And if it is not processed correctly, not brought in the right attention and awareness to, this is something that can really become a hurdle on your awakening journey. So in this video, I want to talk about what grief really is, how to really embrace it on your journey so that it can really help you progress rather than hinder you on your awakening. Now, the first thing we want to understand about grief is, outside of an awakening, typically when we experience grief, we associate it with something negative, something that we don't really want to sit there with because it doesn't feel good, right? To think about when you experience grief, it's usually because of some loss in your life. You are typically trying to not sit there with grief. Most people want to shove it away, want it to disappear. They entertain themselves so they don't have to really sit with that sadness. And we're typically masking it with something else and not really looking at the depths of it. If we actually sit there properly with grief, bring awareness to what we're feeling, we can actually process it and use it towards something more beneficial and move on in life. But we actually end up getting stuck sometimes in life because we don't process the grief appropriately. With that being said, on your awakening journey, grief is a massive, massive sign that your old self is dissolving. And it is really, really important when this comes up, if you are truly looking to really, progress on your awakening journey, that you give grief a hard look when you are, when you come face to face with it. Because what it's really trying to tell you is that there is something in your old identity, about your old self, some old limiting belief that you had, which you might have loved while it was with you, but it is no longer serving you and that vibration that you are trying to carry forward, which is a higher vibration. That old sense of self, your old self-limiting beliefs have got to go, because the new vibration that you're trying to tap into, those, old beliefs, that old identity can no longer move with you. And so what you will find time and time again, this is not just once on your awakening journey that this might happen. It actually might happen to you several times. Each time that it's needed, whatever it is that needs to be brought light to, you will find that you are possibly stuck in a state of sadness. And what you really want to do is truly mourn this period, mourn that old sense of self, because it is meant to be felt, not something to shove away, not something to not take a look at, not something to, avoid, not confront. So you really want to sit with what is actually surfacing for you. And, sometimes the conflicts that may come up from within, because it is associated with an old part of you that you might have held on to very dearly. But as the truth surfaces and this is really hurting you, you will need to really, come to terms with it. Otherwise, it will sit with you as almost as a point of conflict as you move forward. So you want to really give yourself the time to grieve whatever it is that is, being left behind. This could be people, this could be beliefs, this could be whatever that old self really was. Just understand that each time this happens to you, the ego is truly just mourning the collapse of its old sense of self. And so really what you can do is honor that phase that you're going through and really sit with it so that you can truly release what needs to be released and be at peace with, moving forward on your awakening journey. Another reason you want to truly embrace, any grief that comes up for you on your awakening journey is because it leads you from, a place of confusion into clarity. I'll give you an example so you can really relate with what I'm talking about. Let's say you were a really religious person prior to your awakening. let's say you were a devout, Hindu, a devout Christian, and you read your, spiritual text with a whole lot of love on a daily basis. Your love for your religion was profound. And now, this awakening has led you into, let's say, spirituality. By the way, this is not an example that's going to apply to all. I'm just giving you a hypothetical example that might really help you understand what I'm talking about. Now, I do apologize for my stuffiness today. I do have allergies coming in, and that's why I sound like this, but doing my best to kind of make this video nevertheless. So when I talk about this example, I'm not really pinpointing at anyone or anything in particular, just giving you a hypothetical example so you can really understand what I'm talking about here. Of course, this can show up in different ways for different people, but the idea here is that when you're grieving something on your awakening journey, it's not necessarily, a significant loss in terms of a person, but it could be an idea, a way of living, a belief that you held. So let's say prior to your awakening, you were a devout Hindu or a devout Christian. And, your belief was in that book and the concept of heaven. And now, as you are moving towards spirituality and possibly even going within, that those beliefs that you held so dearly are starting to crumble, starting to fall. And this may then lead you to experience a lot of confusion, a lot of conflict, maybe possibly even anger, because you've spent a whole lot of your life believing in something that you now realize is not so true and not really what you want to spend the rest of your life living. And that is absolutely okay. What, this journey, this awakening journey is meant to do for you is to really shine a light on anything that has been holding you back from your progress, holding you back from the true life that you might want to live and, are meant to be living. So this can be different in so many different ways for different people, but nevertheless, allowing yourself to really grieve whatever it is that you're experiencing. And this is not something that happens over a day or two. Maybe for some people, depending on the belief or whatever is collapsing, it's possible. But for others, it may take weeks, it may take months, depending on how solid that belief is. The greater the belief that you've been holding on to, the harder it's going to be for you to let it go and also move on from it. But what helps is to understand that you are going to experience it. It helps to understand that, when this really comes up for you, it's just a part of the process. And also allowing yourself the time, weeks, months, whatever it may be around a particular belief that you've been holding, pattern you've been holding, or whatever that is for you, it's okay. And you will be a stronger and a better person once you come on to the other side. Now, once again, don't be discouraged by the time that it takes. It is going to really depend. For some of us, it's actually even some beliefs are coming down to us from our entire lineage. So it's going to take some time to really unravel, to really understand and get to the bottom of what it is that you're feeling, why it is you're feeling it, and really, so to release it, you are going to have to truly sit with it. And that's how you really move on from this and overcome the grief that you're experiencing. Now, the two key positive things you really want to focus on in terms of why, grief is such a positive thing is one, it actually expands your heart, your capacity to love. Usually the blockages that we have, in our chakras, in, our patterns that we've been carrying, in the belief system that we've been holding, we find that it is limiting our ability to live a good life. And when that finally cracks open, our heart expands and we are able to live more freely. We are able to love more freely. So really it does, end up impacting our capacity to love. Secondly, it actually leads us to surrender. I talk about this a lot. But when you get to that low of that sadness, that grief, and that old sense of self, it just forces us even more to turn inward, because now we know where to really look, right? It's not on the outside. It's not in the outside circumstances, people, places, things, but really the answers come from within. So it makes us search even harder on the inside and truly surrender to the journey, because you end up realizing, wait, if this is what was holding me back, then there must be more. And that, gives you that surrender to really move on with the journey, that openness that you are willing to go wherever this journey is going to take you. It gives you that receptivity that you need to learn more things that may be coming down your way. And therefore, you are ready to, experience that higher consciousness. Remember, if you just take a look at your body, if you are operating from your lower chakras, then you are, operating from that lower state of consciousness. But as you break down these old beliefs, you break down the old walls, that allows you to experience something new and something more positive. And the higher up you go in terms of your healing, in terms of, breaking those old beliefs, you can then create your new reality based on what you really want and how you truly want to, be a part of the world and how you want to show up in the world. And then you get to a place of finally starting to co-create with the universe, because now you're ready to create new beliefs. You have expanded your consciousness, and therefore that will allow you to really move in that direction. So really, when grief shows up for you, honor it, embrace it, sit with it, so you can finally move on from it, because once you get through it, there is a lot to really look forward to, a lot of new things to truly embrace. And, as much as in our daily life, when we look at loss, we look at grief in a negative way, this is a great place to shift that mindset. When you see grief, say, oh my God, this is amazing. That means I'm releasing something. As hard as the truth may be that's trying to crumble, I get that. That is going to be the difficult part on this journey. But at the same time, knowing that what it's going to do for you in advance really helps you to get through it. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope this was helpful. God bless.